Welcome, Nomz, Bistline, to Trust Me, the famous Nomz. Thank you so much for joining us. The correct. Hi is correct. I'm so excited that you're here. Obviously, we talk outside of the podcast via my mother, but I'm excited to get to actually ask you all of the questions that we haven't talked about one-on-one ever. There's so much I don't know about you. There's so much the world doesn't know about you. So really grateful that you're here. Can you tell us first, before Sam ever came into the picture, what was your family life like? What was your lifestyle? You were regular FLDS?
Kind of. I was one of the people that was, my dad was sent away, as thousands of men were sent away around that time. So a lot of us grew up without a dad. So we had caretakers.
Why was your dad sent away?
From what I remember, it was some really weird accusations that Warren Jeffs had against him. He said murder of unborn children as well as unconfessed childhood sins. I never really understood any of this, and also because my mom had miscarriages, and so.
Oh my gosh. And he blamed your dad. That's awful.
It sounds like he was trying to get rid of a
competition.
male population. You see that a lot.
Yeah.
I kind of feel that way now. Looking back, he got rid of all the men he was threatened by, is what I feel like.
Right. Anyone who maybe was, would take one of his wives or question him. Yeah, totally. I didn't know that. See, I'm already learning new things. Okay, so you were raised by what was your family, your immediate family? Like, how many siblings do you have?
My immediate family, I have 11 full siblings and 11 half siblings.
Crazy.
My dad had 2 wives around the age of 12, 13. I think I was 13 then. We were all scattered and split and separated. When my dad was sent away, then not only were the moms separated, but the siblings, like me and my other siblings, were scattered and separated into different homes.
What year was that around?
My dad was sent in 2012.
Okay.
And then it was early 2013, I think.
Do you know where they were sending them?
Sending them away? I learned later they were being sent out to repent. My dad moved to Minnesota and just lived a bachelor life out there.
Wow.
And later, some of my brothers were sent away at the age of 11, and they went and lived with him.
Oh. And do you know if they were still believers at that point? Like they were trying to do the repentance process, the made-up repentance process?
From what it seemed like, they did at first, but as the years went by, then my brothers just kind of trailed off and started living a life.
Yeah.
Outside.
That makes sense. But you and your sisters and a lot of your family is still in Short Creek then after?
Yes. Although we were in different homes, so a lot of my siblings, I haven't lived with them since and never really had that sibling relationship.
Yeah, when I first visited Short Creek, it was before my mom lived there, and it was a very different town than it is now. And we definitely talked about this on the podcast, but it's been a long time. When I visited, a lot of the homes were still unfinished. There were very few outsiders anywhere to be seen. And it was just a lot more of a closed off community. Do you remember that era? What was it like then?
Oh, very, very much. I do very well remember. If anyone came out, anyone from the outside came into town, we would hibernate in the home. We would go in the houses, turn off all the lights, shut all the blinds, so we wouldn't be seen.
What was the thinking? What were you told was the reason for that?
We were kind of under the impression and taught that the world was out to get us, especially the government. So we were born and raised as the government being these monsters because they took the profit and it was our fault that he's still in prison. I don't know. It's a really messed up mindset, but we grew up thinking that they were always out to get us.
I can see how that's both a tool of manipulation potentially and also rooted in actual trauma in the community, because there were the raids in 1953 where the families were, taken away from each other by the government, right?
Yes. And then there was raids in 2008 in Texas on another compound, and then another raid in 2016.
Right.
Yeah, and it's like obviously Warren Jeffs deserved to be in prison because of what, the crimes that he was committing. But the result of it is that a lot of kids are taken away from their parents and families are separated. And that's like a very traumatic thing. So it creates this distrust of basically like the outside world in the community, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, even more. But there were times, growing up, you had suspicions of the outside world and curiosities, but you never dared explore them.
So when a thought, I have two questions. When a thought would come up about the outside world, how would you push it out? Would you consciously be like, I can't think that, or did you just not even have them?
A lot of times we didn't really have them, but when we did, then it was like, just push it out. Don't think about that. Even though there were times when I would get with like other friends and relatives in the group, and when it was just like us girls talking, then we would have conversations like, if we grew up in the outside world, we called them Gentiles. We're like, if we were born Gentile, where would we be right now? And we would talk about the different things that would be. Me, I would always say, like, I would probably be in the entertainment industry. I'd be an actor or a singer or an influencer somewhere in that industry.
And did you have any secret hobbies that you like that were forbidden? Any like movies you would watch secretly or anything like that?
Yes. Not until way later. So growing up as a child and like also in my early teenage years, then it was very rigid. Everything was very strict. But in my late teenage years, 16 and 17, then that was when I started to sneak out and download movies from the college because it had free Wi-Fi and we didn't have internet. So I would download, but the movies were so innocent. They were like Shirley Temple movies, Andy Griffith.
Oh, that's really sweet.
Love Shirley Temple.
I do remember the first cartoons, and it was Frozen 2. And it was me movie. And my best friend, Mikkel. And we would learn the different songs in that. And
it's you and Mikkel. That's so cute.
But that came later in life. Yeah.
Oh, well, I was gonna ask, outsiders come in and y'all go and hide. To me, I'm like, what does that look like? Do you have to be quiet? Can you not make any noise, or can you read a book, or do you all just have to stare at each other? Like, what is that?
We would shut the blinds, turn off all the lights, go into the living room, and kneel in a circle and pray.
Like pray for them to leave?
Pray for our safety, mostly.
That sounds like really, like it would fill you with a lot of anxiety all the time if you have that much fear collectively as a community. Yeah. And also, like, as someone who was one of those people driving around the town and being like, oh, what's going on here? Like, if I were on the other end of that, I'd be like, get out of here. Yes. Like, stop being nosy about my, like, we're not animals. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I get it. Yeah.
Even now when I'll be because I've made a lot of friends outside that didn't even have my background, but when they see other FLDS people and they pull out their phones and start videoing, I'm like, guys, that's rude.
Yeah, it is rude.
Like, they're scared.
Yeah.
That's really mean.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Okay, so how old were you when well, first of all, I guess Warren Jeffs gets arrested, and then the community is kind of leaderless for a while. What was your conception of who the leader was now, or what people were supposed to do now that there wasn't a prophet?
Warren still controlled the people from prison. He banned all marriages and babies being born, any type of relationship that brought that forth. And he also started having the fathers could not live with their family. Even the fathers that were still here with their families. Then they had to live out in a father shed, we called it.
A father shed. Oh, that is so mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
We see that so often. Yeah. Breaking up the family unit. And
Then and then the whole United Order started. And then there was a lot of separation between that, members and non-members, and people who are worthy and people who are not. A lot of boy homes and girl homes, and a lot of separation and splitting up.
Can you briefly explain what the United Order is? Because I think most people won't know what that is.
Honestly, I don't still know what it is exactly.
It's confusing to me. Like, I know what it is too, but I don't really know how to explain it.
I really honestly don't know how to explain it. It was just basically another step into becoming like God or something. And it was where everybody donated to the storehouse, and all the money, all food, everything. And then we got all our supplies and what we needed from that storehouse, which didn't really distribute enough, because there was some weeks where we would only get potatoes and rice and just things like that. And that was all we'd get for food. And this went on for years.
If you were in the sort of the like lower class, because there was an upper class, right? But the families were kind of categorized one way or the other, and like the sort of lower class within the hierarchy, were like often starving. I remember talking to rest in peace, Alyssa Bistline, about that years ago, and how hungry her family was at the time.
I remember going 3 years with one set of clothing, had to wash every single night.
Oh my gosh.
Living off very little food, whereas like some of the people that were better, then they were in abundance. They had everything they needed. We would see this too. But it was kind of strange, because there wasn't supposed to be these like levels of classes and stuff, but there definitely was. And for me, I was one of the slaves of the cult, I would say. Like, my schedules were literally getting up at 3 a.m. and going to the storehouse and working until 8, filling orders for different people. Yeah, we couldn't eat the food that we were filling these orders for.
Oh my gosh.
And we would work till 8, then I would go to school till around noonish, and some days then I was like put into these sewing classes, and I would sew from noon till 6 some days, and it was very scheduled, very rigid.
Sounds exhausting. And also you're hungry this whole time. Like, how did you even? Yeah. You wouldn't even have time to question, because your time is just so completely consumed and you're so exhausted.
I think that was intentional.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure
to keep everybody so busy that they didn't have a chance to logically think about anything or question anything.
And are these orders coming from Warren still at that point?
At this point, yes, they were coming from him, as well as the bishop at the time, Lyle Jeffs, his brother.
Oh, that's right, Lyle, yeah.
There's a lot of 2x2s named Lyle who come out as not good people. I don't know. Lyle. Oh, there's some good Lyles.
I'm sure there's a good Lyle, but there's some bad Lyles
cancel
as well.
Clear. Okay.
Well, I look at it the same way with the name Warren.
Yes, thank you. What were your thoughts about Warren Jeffs?
Growing up?
Yeah.
He was like God.
Yeah.
Anything he said, you had to do it. No questions asked, no thought against him. He was literally, I remember even in his trainings that he would give, then he would talk about the prophet is God to this people.
Right.
And we grew up with that. And there was also a lot of trainings about if it was our fault that he was in prison.
Oh.
And even the people that knew about the crimes he'd committed didn't believe it. I personally didn't know until years later when I was sitting in prison and the other inmates talked about it. And that was when I first knew the parallels between him and Sam.
Wow. We are going to get into that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But until that point, you thought it was like, did you think it was persecution?
Yes. We all were like taught this was persecuting. It was persecution to the religion, and therefore he's more righteous because he's like this martyr.
Right. Like Joseph
Smith. He's being
Smith.
persecuted for his religion.
Yeah. Right. Classic.
I also have to express there was a lot of pressure on us as well, because I grew up thinking it was our fault that he was in prison, because that's what we were taught.
Like you guys, you just believed that as a community, you all weren't righteous enough, and that was the punishment?
We weren't righteous enough, and I was born and raised under this condemnation. And it was directly told you were under condemnation.
That is
because of all these evil sins, which aren't really even sins at all. Like, I never understood it.
Yeah, like what were the sins even? Like you were your biggest. The movie you were watching later on when you were rebelling was like a children's vintage movie, you know? Like, so what were these alleged sins?
That was before the movies. The movies were even worse, but
that's what I'm saying.
Like, yeah. Would be literally anything, making up stories, because a lot of times then I wrote tons of novels, only I didn't know they were novels at the time. We made up stories. Me and my best friend, we would draw pictures a lot too. And I mean, it was totally innocent, just to get out of all the pain that was going on inside. So we would make up some really hilarious characters and wrote a lot of stories about them. They're still quite comical, even thinking back on it now.
Oh, I want to see it.
I want to read these. Yeah.
So we would get into a lot of trouble for that, and get our notebooks and art taken away, and later banned from us.
And it was just because it wasn't about the church, basically?
Yes. All this stuff was not accepted in the religion, because the only things we could read and write about were scriptures.
Oh my goodness.
It just sounds so boring. Like, obviously it's like horrific, like a horrific level of control and oppression and all of those things. But also it just sounds so boring to not be able to do anything outside of the church.
Strangely, it was to do things like this, like make up skits and write made up little novels and stuff. It was more of like a challenge, and we wouldn't even do it because it was fun. It was a lot of times we did it because we knew it was wrong in our mind. We'd be like,
so you were being rebellious.
How can we bend the rules as much as we can without getting in trouble and without being cast out?
Right. That's the cutest rebellion.
Yeah. Yeah. What? Yeah. I was about to say, what were they about? But you know what? We have too much to cover.
We have a lot to cover.
I'll just have to read them for myself.
They're funny. I mean, we really should. We've talked about it, like how we should go back and like take those ideas and actually publish them, because they were very comical.
Okay, so basically, life is hell in the town for a while. When my mom moved to the town, did you know who she was before you met her? Like, what was your relationship to her in the beginning?
Actually, the first time I met her was in 2021, and it was when Sam actually introduced her and told her to his little faction. But before that, I never even heard of her, never knew her, which is kind of interesting how Sam did go after the people who were the most secluded in the cult.
Yeah.
And I was one of them. I didn't know anything about her, never seen or heard about her.
Okay, so you were already with Sam. So can you tell us about Sam's transition into sort of saying that he is, so for the folks who haven't watched the docuseries yet, which seems crazy at this point because the whole world has watched it.
You haven't seen it?
Yeah. But Sam Bateman was this new guy in town who basically was like, actually, Warren is dead, I guess, and is speaking through me. What was it? Yeah.
It's kind of interesting how he came into power, but with me, I don't really know a lot. I mean, except what I've seen and read, and then he grew up here, and he grew up FLDS, and he was kind of, what's the word? Dumb and kind of like an underdog type of person growing up. So
He was. I mean, the doc so clearly demonstrates how this like very schlubby man
he's dorky.
Leaned into
Very
being
much,
a psychopath.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, capitalism, hello, that's that's how it goes. Yeah.
Wait, okay, I just have to know about like the mentality of like you and your family when this man starts saying, I'm the prophet, guys.
Yeah.
It's not Warren. Like, don't worry about Warren anymore. It's me. Like, how was that like?
So I was the only one in my family that was recruited into that.
Okay.
So my family actually went into a different faction of the FLDS.
Another offshoot?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah, so I can explain the FLDS right now. I have this analogy that I draw up about them. It's like this little circle, and inside the circle, then it's split into 4 different factions, and they're all opposing each other. They're all claiming that Warren Jeffs is still the prophet. Some of them are claiming that he is translated or dead, like Sam did, and others are claiming that he's speaking to them from prison. It's pretty confusing in the FLDS even now. And what's strange is these factions are actually opposing each other. So if you talk to someone from a different faction, like my mom, about the Sam situation, then she's very against it.
Right.
And she has all the wrong things about Sam, when Warren Jeffs is just the same. And so is the successor guy that's over that section of faction.
Right. I know that this is very in the weeds, sorry, but I know that in the town, there's like the side of town that my mom lives on. And then when you cross the highway, there's like another offshoot that lives on the other side. Do you know?
Oh, no.
That's a different one.
That's a whole different LDS faction thing that's not even part of the FLDS, but they do the polygamy. It's another offshoot of the LDS church, but not the FLDS.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
There's so many.
Okay. Well, do you remember your first meeting of Sam?
Yes. I think I was 19 at the time. Might have been 20. I was around that age. He had been coming out and talking to my caretaker at the time for over a year. And then one day, then my caretaker, which was Liddell, he introduced me to him. And at the time, he had only 2 wives.
Sam. Got you.
Yeah, Sam. Sam had only 2 wives at the time.
Yep.
So he introduced me to Sam, and then after that, then he kept wanting me to go and see him and talk to him. And my first impressions were not very good. I was like, he's fat, he's ugly, he's weird. And then I would for a long time, I was very defiant against him. Like, who do you think you are? But within a week after that first meeting, then Sam called me and told me I belonged to him. And he's like, God told me to tell you this. And if you deny it, then you are denying God. And that was when the pressure started. And for over a year, he kept trying to get at me. He would send me messages telling me how bad I was, and then only to disappear and then reappear with these declarations of love. And it was very confusing. And then he started threatening me, don't tell your family, don't tell anyone. So the only people who knew were Liddell, my caretaker at the time, which had a lot of influence over me because he was like the father figure of my life.
Right.
And even though you were 19, that was normal in the community to still have a caretaker, like a father figure.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I have siblings that are still that are over 30, and they still have a caretaker.
Wow.
And they're still treated as a child, basically. They're still in the juvenile section of the cult because they're not married.
Right, because their husband becomes their new caretaker. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Yes.
no.
So messed up.
It's so crazy. And they act like, I mean, if I were to talk to one of my sisters that's in her 30s, I would be talking to a 14-year-old. That's her mentality.
Wow. Wow.
It's so interesting how he was able to kind of trauma bond with you without you even really liking him. Like the intermittent good messages with the bad messages was still enough to like cause some dissonance.
I was still defiant until after I was taken to Lincoln. But I can get to that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. We want every step.
Okay. Yeah, it took over a year for him to convince me, and even then it wasn't really a choice by the time. Yeah.
I was going to say, isn't it like whose choice actually is it? Like, because Liddell was your caretaker, was he technically allowed to make that decision for you, or you did have to, like, how did it work?
He technically was, and he in the end then they pretty much commanded me or demanded me that this is what you're going to do.
What was that like?
It started, so during the time he was putting a lot of pressure on me, then he was getting more and more wives. And a lot of the minor girls even were with him before me. And then he started using them to recruit me, and he would have these 15-year-olds and these 9-year-olds calling me and damning me, saying really horrible things, telling me how bad and wicked I was, texting me constantly. He used them to recruit me after he broke them.
He put the fear that like you were basically facing eternal damnation if you didn't become one of his wives.
Yes.
Wow.
And then he started to threaten my family.
How so?
I remember him talking things about my mom, what was going to happen to her, and it would be my fault if I didn't go to him.
Oh my gosh.
That was when I couldn't take it. Then he started talking, threatening to take my younger sister, and that was a lot.
It's exactly the quality you want in a husband, someone who's threatening your family.
Yeah, it's awful.
It's kind of ironic, but my little sister wasn't involved. And that was a lot to keep her out of that. So toward the end, it was the end of 2020, was when one night Sam and Lud talked to me for 6 hours. And then afterwards, then Lud told me how he had seen me reject God this many times or whatever. And that was when I caved and I said, whatever, I'll go.
Oh my gosh.
He immediately jumped on that and then was saying, this is something you're choosing.
Right.
You chose this. This is something you want. You are choosing this. He did not stop once. He drove me all the way to Lincoln, Nebraska, because Sam was living in Lincoln, Nebraska at the time, and handed me off.
Oh,
and then he was rewarded with another woman.
Wow. Did you have dreams of falling in love with someone prior to this?
There was a boy that I started like hitting on, and he was actually in the Centennial group that wasn't even FLDS, didn't even grow up on FLDS, and we started getting a little bit close. And he started telling me a little bit about the outside world more, even though he's kind of in a situation, but he was more exposed than me. It was during the time I worked out the airport, and his dad had a plane out there, and I started getting like curious more. And that was the only thing. But before that, then it wasn't really romantic thoughts because I didn't know how to have those. Didn't even think I had a choice in that matter.
Well, yeah, because you've been told this whole time that marriages are forbidden. And I have to imagine that there would be a lot of conflicting feelings because as far as you've always been told, you're not supposed to get married. And now this guy's saying, no, you have to get married. And if you don't get married, actually, you're sinning. And like, wow, I just like the amount of cognitive dissonance and confusing thoughts. Was that really intense?
It was very intense. I felt like I was being shredded in 4 different directions because there was my mom going into another faction. There was my caretaker pushing me into this. And none of them were anything that I actually wanted.
Oh my God.
And then I had my best friends that were leaving altogether.
Oh, really? Like who?
They were my newts and friends.
Okay.
And so it was a very confusing time, and I didn't know what was right, what was wrong, and if it even mattered.
Oh my gosh. So they wear you down, basically, like break you down for 6 hours and immediately ship you off. I mean, what the heck? Like, so you arrive there, and then what is your life like? Like, suddenly you're Sam's wife.
It was really creepy. There was no ceremony. There was literally nothing. What happened is I was taken in there. It was 4:00 in the morning by the time we got there. And the 3 men were there. And they basically had me kneel down in a circle with them. And then they put their hands on me and stuff and chanted some things up to God. And therefore, I was Sam's wife.
Wow.
And he could do whatever he wanted to me.
Ugh. What year was that?
Late 2020, November of 2020.
But you guys then came back to live in Short Creek at some point.
Yeah, and in 2021, after he had us all compliant and broken down, was when he moved us all back down to the border of Arizona and Utah and introduced us to Christine and Toga.
Can I ask what was the process of breaking you down like? Like, and you don't have to get into too much detail or anything traumatic or anything. I'm just, were there like specific, tactics that you can think of now that he would use?
Trying to think of a way to explain it without going too deep into it, because it was very traumatic. Right at first, I was very defiant.
Okay.
And like several times he wanted me to get up in the family classes and bear my testimony. And I would tell him, like, I don't have one. I don't want to talk about it. And I'm here because you're forced me to be here.
Oh my gosh.
And then one day he just came on top of me, and I knew nothing about anything sexual.
Oh.
And I spent the rest of the day crying in the bathroom, feeling very dirty, and then not caring. And so there was quite a few months where I didn't care anymore. And I even remember telling him, I'm just a rag on the end of a stick, do with me what you will. And he would. So after the not caring, then you get Stockholm syndrome, because there's no way to escape it. But there was quite a few months where I didn't care. I didn't care if I lived or died. It just existed.
Wow. I mean, that just like the abuse that you endured is so unbelievable. Like,
it's unspeakable. It really is. It's unbearable.
Yeah. Watching, so I've only known you since you came out of jail. I met you like right when you came out of jail, which I can't wait to talk about. But so for me, watching the series, I never saw you in that context. I never saw you with Sam, and it's like you're a different person. Like I know you to be the fiery, strong-headed person that you are, and then I see you with Sam, and it's like it's just a completely different person, and it puts into context how you got there. And the way that he abused you into becoming that compliant, and I don't want you to ever share anything that, we can take that out also if you want. But
that touches the iceberg of what happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So it is okay that that's in there, but yeah, he was abusive, and not in front of the cameras though. And our lives were at threat. And in the end, it just got more and more intense.
It always escalates.
Wow.
Even when you think it can't.
In the documentary, it doesn't go over the blood atonements that he started getting into and the threats. And he started planning Liddell's and Moroni's deaths and how he was going to kill them.
I remember this.
He started training Moroni's daughters.
Can I contextualize blood atonement for 1 second? So the early leaders of the original LDS Mormon Church, there was a doctrine called blood atonement, which was basically the idea that there were certain sins that were so serious that the only way to atone for them was to have your blood spilled.
Yeah.
And
they had to be spilled by the prophet.
Right. So some offshoot prophets, quote unquote, have latched onto this doctrine and used it as justification. There have been other sects where people actually were killed under with the justification of it was necessary because of blood atonement. So that's what blood atonement is.
So people were just thinking they were letting out some blood and they accidentally die?
No, it's just kill them.
No, they were straight up murdered.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's the nice way of putting it. Oh, well, we just have to spill their blood, but it means they have to be killed.
Okay.
So, but that's, in the Mormon church, that hasn't actually, in the mainstream Mormon church, that's not actually been a thing. It was just sort of a doctrine that some old guy had put in there. But in some certain extreme offshoots, it's been utilized. He starts talking about blood atonement and why? Yeah.
That's a very interesting question because even I never understood why. He did tell us that it had to do with the other men lusting after his women. And it was a complete jealousy tactic.
Yeah.
But he was getting very severe in it. And then he started saying things to us about if we weren't perfectly compliant and obedient, then one day we would be crawling on our hands and knees to him and begging him to spill our blood.
Oh my God.
It was getting very intense. Toward the end, he had me get this life insurance policy that was $1.5 million. And if I were to die, he would collect that money. So consciously, I didn't think about this until prison. And I was like, everything was coming down. And I'm like, oh my God, my life was at risk.
Yeah.
Very much so.
And I was just doing everything he wanted. And I was trying so hard to live up to the expectations. And here he was, literally planning my death.
Oh my God. And he's
it was crazy.
Openly talking about the men. I remember hearing from my mom at the time, he is talking about blood atonement and Moroni. He is talking more and more and more about basically killing Moroni.
Yes, he would openly talk about it, about Moroni and Liddell.
Oh my gosh. That is so scary. That is so scary.
It's giving me the chills even now to even though you're safe, it's just still, it's whoa.
It is something it still scares me when I think about the threats I was under, the pressure, and the only way to survive was get closer to him.
I wish they had included that in the doc. I understand why they didn't, because it was such limited time. There was so much to cover. There's so much information in the doc.
Yeah, they had 300 hours of footage.
Yeah.
And to cram it all in a very accurate storyline, it does barely touch the basis of what happened.
It's true.
But to get it all in 4 hours is honestly incredible.
I know. I watched the first episode I made some friends come over to watch it with me because I was like, I can't watch this by myself. And after the first episode, we were like, whoa, that was so much information. It's so much stuff. They managed to jam pack so much in there. But yeah, so I understand why it was not included. But also, this is happening in the background of all of this, is there are threats being made actively against people's lives. So of course, then you're going to be like, "Whatever you say, dear prophet." Haha, that's so funny.
You're a really smart girl, so you just kind of turned it on.
And the interesting thing is at the time I didn't consciously think a lot of this stuff. It was mostly subconscious and just observing and not daring to stand up and say anything. One of the reasons why I even started having suspicions about Christine and Tolga was actually Mikkel. She couldn't not tell me because we were so close before. And even though I was so controlled by Sam, then I went to Mikkel and expressed my concerns because he had blown me off and didn't believe me. So I went to Mikkel. And I said something to Mikkel, and Mikkel was like, "Yeah, they're not who you think they are." But I was too terrified to tell Sam.
Sorry, just because people might not know who Mikkel is yet because she wasn't in the doc.
I'll explain. Mikkel was a cousin that I grew up with. She's Liddell's youngest sister, and she grew up from the ages of 10 till now. Then we have been very close friends, we were until the Sam thing. Then Sam kind of pitted us against each other. And for those years in the Sam situation, then she was treated very horribly because she was actually one of the first people that came out to the FBI. It wasn't discussed in the documentary because she wasn't ready to talk about it at the time of the filming, but she's coming out more and more now. But she stepped forward before Julia even.
Yeah.
And she was helping Christine. She was getting a lot of inside information and even a lot more than even what Julia was doing.
Yeah, Mikkel was a huge part of the story. Yeah.
Yes. She was the 22nd wife.
Oh my goodness. Yes. How many wives did he get to? Was it 20?
25.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm excited I'm excited that Mikkel is starting to tell her experience because
she's been under a lot of pressure from local people that kind of had silenced her until now. Then she's finally coming out and talking about it, which I'm so proud of her.
Me too. And we're going to have her on and we're going to make her sing a song, and you should too if you want, because you both have such beautiful voices. But anyway.
Not this time, like when we're down there live. We'll
yeah. You don't have to do it on Zoom.
Live.
But okay. So that's who Mikkel is. We were very close. We grew up best friends, and we're best friends again. And I just love her so much. Anyway, back to the story. She was the first one that told me, actually admitted to me that yes, Christine is not who you think she is. But I was too scared to tell Sam at that point.
Well, you had told Sam, and he was like, "Shut up. I know what to trust, and if you trust me and I trust them, so you're wrong." And you're like, "Okay, then."
It was like God has told me to trust them. And so if you're not trusting me to trust them, then this and that and the other will happen.
It was just his pure narcissism.
Yeah.
Because he just wanted to keep getting filmed.
Whatever God he was talking to in that moment, good for them.
Yeah, honestly.
All the gods before that were just downright brutal.
Right.
Yeah. Well, as an outsider looking in, watching this documentary, I was like, because I didn't know the end. I didn't know, when I saw you sit down. Well, I don't know if I'm going to give that away to people who haven't watched it yet, but I was like, what? I couldn't believe it because you seemed like the one most in love with him, that believed him the most. Of course, I know this is not to be true now, but I was like, oh, I think she really believes what he's saying.
I did. That's the sad part is I look back on that, and it's kind of strange because I don't know how to remember what was going on as if I'm experiencing it. I see it, I still in my mind. And even at the time, I was so disassociated and so numb that my memories are in third person.
Wow.
Whoa. Yeah.
So what was it about my mom and Tolga that made you guys think she shouldn't be trusted?
Well, just little hints that happened. For instance, when there was a time that they came over and she had us all distracted in the living room with Sam. And I think it was that time where he was telling her about all these bizarre goals that he had.
Oh, like with the queen?
Yes, in the marble palace and all this stuff.
Yeah.
They were crazy. But it was during that time that I stepped outside with some of like the kids, the tiny children, and Tolga was standing there with this drone.
Oh.
And he was kind of videoing and droning the blue house and the greenhouse. And those were my first curiosities, like, what's he doing? Why is he doing this? This is so weird. Like, Sam didn't know anything about it, obviously, because he would have said something. So that was the first time I started having questions. And then there was several other little things that happened. For instance, there was a time in Flagstaff after his first arrest, and Christine was talking to Tolga off camera, and she said something about, I really need a new phone. And then when the raid happened, then the FBI took her new phone.
Oh.
And she still had her other phone.
Oh.
Because they came in and took everybody's phones, and then they took her new one. And in my mind, I was thinking her new one doesn't have anything on it.
Right. And if folks haven't watched the docuseries, what happened in a nutshell, my mom and my stepdad earned the trust of Sam. And began filming, and then
they played on his ego.
And
well, he was a really good mountain climber, runner.
Well, I'm gonna toot my horn right here. Some of those videos, then I was taking them.
Were you?
Yes, and I didn't even know what was happening. What happened was during that situation. Then I now looking back and talking to Kristen and Tolga, then they've told me they tried so hard to get me alone because they knew if Sam was targeting me, then I would be the one that, I don't know, then they felt like she's the one that we would need to get on our side, you know. So they were trying to get me alone, which Sam never allowed me to be alone. Even when I'd go out, then he would always have at least 4 other girls and women.
Wow.
Like, we always had to be in this group.
Wow.
We were spies, and always spying on each other. Like, he kept us in this tight-knit group. Anyway, so they were trying to get me alone. And Tolga found out that I loved cameras, and I was very fascinated with them. And so he gave me some tips on cameras, and he said something about, like, do you want to help me video this? So I was like, yeah. So the parts where Tolga's in the camera on those hiking scenes, then that was me.
I was wondering about that.
When it has both of them in it, then I was the one with the camera.
Oh, cool.
You did an incredible job.
But it didn't work. Their plan to get me alone did not work because this is also another thing that I feel like Sam knew. But I mean, he knew that once I did get alone and start thinking for myself, then I would have come out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because I remember that night telling him about, like, Tolga told me this and that and the other about the cameras, and I was like so excited, and I was like, he said he would teach me how to take pictures, these professional pictures, and video more professionally. And Sam said, no, that is not going to happen.
Well, because God forbid you get your own interests and start to think for yourself or think about anything besides him.
Yeah.